Okay, welcome everybody tonight. I'm very excited to another Nechama Comfort conversation, and I can't wait till you meet our guest. And I'm just going to repeat again to please turn off, please mute yourselves while we're speaking. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We're going to open it up to questions at the end, comments, sharing, whatever you choose. Tonight will be informative. We'll have some entertainment and share some important information to all of you. So welcome. Tonight, it's my pleasure to have as my guest Chemdi Romer. Chemdi lives in Baltimore with her family. She has the most magnificent voice, and I was just sharing with her that I can't sing, I'm tone deaf, but people that have heard her singing, she sent me a snippet of her song. It is like hearing a bird sing, beautiful, beautiful melodies. She was a voice instructor at the Ratzon Music Program in Baltimore. She has her certificate of completion for the Institute of Vocal Advancement. And she has come on tonight to share her grief journey, her story of loss. After the loss of her dear daughter, Amuna, she turned to what she knew, singing, vocals, music, to help her with her journey. So I'm going to ask Chemdi tonight to share her story, to share how her emotions were, to keep in mind that everybody's journey is different. But we do, when we work with our families in Nechama Comfort, we do work with them to see if they have an outlet, a hobby, something that they can connect with to help them find their peace after this trauma. And this is one person's story, and you may not be able to sing, but everybody has a voice in helping them go through this trauma, this loss. So welcome, Chemdi. Welcome tonight. Thank you for joining us. And let's begin. Chemdi, can you? I'm sorry, I just lost. Okay, can you share with us your story, how it began, and you could go far back as you want.
Yeah, I'm debating if I should start with like musically or this.
Let's just start
I'll start
musically.
musically. Okay.
Yes.
So I always loved singing as a child. I remember my one of my first memories of singing was when I was young enough to be home by myself. I had the music on blasting and I was singing with it. Um, I needed the music to be louder than me so that I could just be completely absorbed with it. And my sister came home from carpool and she's really upset at me for embarrassing her because the whole carpool could hear me from the street. So that was my realization that I'm different in that way, that I couldn't just listen to music. I needed it to be blasting and I needed to be singing at the top of my lungs. I was always shy though, even though I always, whenever I would see somebody on stage, I knew that something was pulling me toward that, but I didn't have the guts to put myself out there. So, I would join choirs once, I was choir head in 8th grade, or, kind of like little bits here and there. I actually declined the opportunity to be the choir head for the production in 12th grade because the principal took me aside and said, "Are you going to be able to keep up with your grades?" And I was like, "I can't promise that." And so I was like, "Well, then don't make me the choir head." And so they didn't. And so I always enjoyed journaling just as a way to handle life circumstances. That was very therapeutic for me. But songwriting was more just like, I didn't think that I had it. I always wanted to, but I never like believed in myself. I would make up tunes here and there as they would come to me, but I didn't really take them so seriously. And then once I got married, I just got too busy, and it was really actually the stillborn that made me put my life on hold. That made me just, like, that was too big for me to just keep doing regular everyday stuff, and just, it was actually very interesting. I don't like to say this story because I don't like to be negative, but when we were at the hospital, the rabbi who came in to take our baby did a couple of things that weren't super sensitive, and one of them was that he told me that in his experience, the best thing is for people to just kind of move on. Like, don't dwell on it. And I was like, I feel like I lost a baby. Like, I know that she was never alive. Like, she was inside me, but I never, like, experienced holding her alive. But that just didn't sit right with me. It felt like a loss. And then when my doctor came in later, he said the complete opposite. He said, you're going to have to go through the grieving process, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And so 2 weeks after the stillborn, in those 2 weeks, I had gotten my milk. That was actually the hardest part, I think, for me. I mean, past losing a child, was, what do I do with this? Like, my body doesn't know that the baby's not alive. And it was, aside from being physically painful, there's the pain of, like, wanting to have someone to give to in that way and not having that baby to give to. It was like a constant reminder that I couldn't just pretend that everything was normal, because why do I have so much milk? At one point I actually thought maybe I'll, like, pump and, like, do a chesed and give people, money, give people, like, not, for free, not get paid for it, but just give people my milk. And then I realized that I'm going to just keep producing, and that was actually probably not such a great idea for me. So I was looking for songs on Google one night. Like, I needed something to listen to that captured a mother's pain of losing a baby, specifically stillborn. Carry on. You're actually muted.
I want to just, thank you so much so far for sharing what's really raw, but so true. And so many people are listening, I'm sure, and shaking their heads and relating to you. I just want to go a couple steps back to, if you could share a little bit about your pregnancy. Do you have other children? What this pregnancy meant, leading up to when, unfortunately, your sweet daughter passed away. You could share a little bit about that.
Okay. So I'm sorry. I can't see you anymore. I don't know how to make that change. Hold on a second. I need to look at you when I'm talking.
Oh,
I feel like I'm
don't
talking.
see
Oh,
us?
there you are. Okay, I see you.
Okay.
So I got married at 27, and I was like, so I also feel like I should. Okay, I'll come back to that. And at that time, I just really wanted to start a family, and so I had 3 children back to back, and then I took a little break, and I had my 4th child, and then Emuna was my 5th child. Emuna's the daughter that we lost. And my girls had been praying for like years that I would have another baby before my fourth, but they were happy that we had a boy, but they really wanted a girl. So actually, after the stillborn, they're like, Hashem answered my prayers, but also didn't, because it was a girl, but then she died. So, you know, they had that aspect of like them handling the grief because they were so looking forward. And then I came home empty-handed. So going back to my baby was 9 months at the time, and this was actually a surprise. Like we weren't like at that time trying to have children, another child, but we were excited, and we were like, okay, we're gonna make this. We're gonna be happy. This is great. We'll figure it out. And a couple weeks later, I had a very intense back pain one Friday afternoon for a few hours. I was on the floor on all fours with my kids around, trying to cook in between them, and I was like, I feel like I'm in labor, but like they're timed and they're really painful. It was my lower back, and the next thing I know, I'm having huge clots. My children are like outside the bathroom, and I'm like, okay, like I guess I just had a miscarriage. And the funny thing was, I wasn't crying, and I had a previous miscarriage, and it was a very different experience. I was very emotional for a week straight. I just was crying the whole time, and in bed. But this was different. But like I never had that much bleeding, and I was just assumed that, you know. So I called my OB, and they said, okay, come in a week, and we'll, you know, check we'll make sure everything cleared out. And so when I got in there, the ultrasound technician was, you know, looking and taking pictures, and I'm like measuring. I'm like, you know, this is to, you know, make sure that everything cleared. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I had a miscarriage last week. And she's like, what makes you say that? I said, well, because I had a lot of bleeding. And she's like, there's a heartbeat. And I was like, I'm pregnant? And so like I was the joke of the office that day. I was sitting outside, you know, in the waiting room waiting to talk to the OB. And I like saw the nurses passing by, like snickering, like, oh, she's the one who didn't know she was pregnant. Like, you know, that was like the joke. But I was so excited. My husband was like, this is hysterical. Like, okay, great. Like, back onto the excitement road, you know? So.
How far along were you?
When that happened, I think it was still earlier on. I would say it was around the time that my other one happened, which was really probably considered a chemical pregnancy. It was like 5 weeks.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Ish. Yeah. And so
Back to being excited.
Yeah, at the time I was working on getting my certificate of completion from the Institute of Vocal Advancement, and I was just really busy. So maybe that's why I wasn't like really noticing things were a little different with this one. And I remember my mother told me after the fact that once I was at her house, and I said to her, oh, the baby's moving, come feel. And she put her hand on, and she felt like this little bump. And she was thinking in her head, like, that's it? She didn't say anything out loud. And I was like, look, if the baby's moving, everything must be fine, you know? So she didn't say anything that, like, you know, that wasn't such a strong movement. Is that the strongest you've been feeling? Like, she didn't know to say that. She
Right?
struck her as
Why
weird.
would she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just finished my goal was to do it before my baby would be born, and I finished it like 2 weeks before the stillborn actually happened. Going into that, so there was a few days before it actually happened. I would say maybe a week before, like I started noticing some changes, like my stomach dropped. I'm like, oh, you know, maybe like we don't actually know when conception was, but maybe I'm actually in my 9th month. Maybe I'm having this baby soon. And a couple of other symptoms, and I remember calling my doctor about it and like saying, you know, this is a little different. Um, oh yeah, there was a lot of like weight down there, just a lot of heaviness and
Hmm. And you shared
painful
that with your
walking.
doctor.
Yeah, and people, not the painful walking, but associated with that, which
Hmm.
I don't think is appropriate for this call. But you can leave your
Okay,
mind to imagine
right.
what I'm saying without saying it. Um, and I I do want to say that with having to go through something like this, I'm able to see that how if it had to happen, there were some blessings that like if I would have found out at the doctor and then like waited for my like to have to go into labor on my own, or just the having that association in the doctor's in the doctor's office. Every time I would go to that OB, I would remember, oh my gosh, this is when I found out that there was no heartbeat, you know? So
Right.
I didn't
Yeah.
have that. I had it, maybe people would think this is more traumatizing, but the way, I'm sorry. Oh, thank you, sweetie. Um, maybe, um,
Right. There are choices that people, on our support group, we see that everybody shares their story and everybody thinks, wow, that would have been worse. And that's how one of our mechanisms that we use to deal with our journeys. Um, and that's a common that's something that's shared, that's commonly shared, is having to go, when after you give birth, and if you choose to have another child, going back to the same doctor or not, and what to do if you're going to go back to the same doctor. Again,
right.
we always advise, see if you could be the first appointment, the last appointment, sit in a private room, etc. Because those are all things that we think about.
So it was actually, so this is actually pretty poignant. Also, in my 8th month at the appointment before it happened, I think it was the second week of my 8th month. And at the end, so the MA comes in and she's like, no, you feeling the baby moving? And I was kind of like distracted, a little responding to someone on my phone, and I was like, uh-huh. But in my mind, I'm thinking, not as much as my other ones did, and not as much as they usually do at this time.
Hmm. Right.
But I didn't say anything. Um, and so at the end of the appointment, my doctor said, okay, so would you like to make an appointment in 2 weeks? Because in the 8th month, it's every 2 weeks. Or would you like to just wait the 3 weeks? Because once you're in your 9th month, you're coming in every week. I was like,
Right.
just do 3 weeks. And he said,
Right. You had no reason not
yeah,
to.
yeah. He's like, yeah, you don't strike me as the worried type. Okay.
Right.
Well, it was actually the Thursday that it happened. It was the day that that appointment would have been. Is when I went into labor that night. So I'm in bed and, like every other pregnant woman on the planet, probably going to the bathroom multiple times a night. So I went to the bathroom at like 2 a.m. And my husband, bless him so much, because he helps me a lot. And, he's up late working to compensate, to make up time. So he was up right next to me on his desk, his desk working. And so he saw me go to the bathroom, and then when I came back, contractions started. And, I was just not comfortable, all that.
So you were in your 9th month at this point.
I would have just entered my 9th month, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I would
Right.
have just completed my 8th month.
Hmm.
Um, but not full term, not considered full term
Right.
yet. Um, and so he asks me what was going on, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm in labor. And I'm like, hey, time them. So they're not timed, like 7 minutes, 9 minutes, 8 minutes, 3 minutes, totally not timed. He's like, you're not in labor. And I'm like, but you don't understand how painful these are. So that's when he called, and they said, come in. And I actually did 3 home births. So like, to think that something like this was like even in the realm of possibility for me it was just not on my radar. I was like begging him to stay home. I just want to have the baby in the bathtub because like I'm so close. I can feel that I'm so close. And he's like, no, we're going. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Were you planning on a home birth? You weren't.
Not for this one.
Not
And
this
that's
time.
yeah, there
Right.
is more to the story, but I don't have time to go into it. But
Okay.
I had a
Right.
couple of
Okay.
complications for my other one. But
Right.
um, if I would have given birth at home, that would have been so traumatic.
Yes.
What she looked like she was already starting to decompose. So I'm sorry if that was too gruesome for some people, but that would have just been. And then again, I would have had memories in my own house of that trauma.
Yeah.
Like that would have just
It's hard.
been too much. And then like, let's say one of my children like got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, like that would have been too much. So I'm really grateful.
There's a reason.
Yeah, that the way it happened, it was just in the most grace that I think I needed. So I get to the hospital, and they take me back pretty quickly. But right away, the nurse sees that there's no heartbeat. And she just says to me, oh, when's the last time you felt the baby move, hun? And I couldn't remember. And that's when I looked at my husband, and I'm like, and it had been a few days. And I was so happy that I was finally able to sleep again. Like, I'm comfortable at night. No one's keeping me.
Right.
Like, I didn't think about it. It just wasn't, I was like, there's something's different about this baby. This is good. Like, no.
Yeah, our minds, that's a very common comment, because our minds don't go to the worst. Our minds go to the best, and we don't think about it. We try to make a good scenario. That's
Yeah.
very natural.
So
So so after they did the sonogram, you knew, they told you.
they they were actually very, very smart about how they did it. I have a feeling this is I didn't speak to them about it, but they basically just kept offering to call in new people to use a different machine, to get a different doctor, until I figured out. And I was a cardiac ultrasound technician for 8 years.
Oh,
Single. So I knew also I was just in denial. And so like when they offered like the 4th person, I'm like, okay. Like
right.
if there was something there, they would have found it already.
Right.
And so at some point I said, are you still looking for a heartbeat? And that's when the lady said, yeah. And there is no heartbeat. I remember what she looked like. She was very like making sure that there was no, like, I couldn't try to, she made it very clear. And what really struck me at that moment was,
This was the doctor or the technician?
no, this was I don't know if she was a resident, or I think she was a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there is no heartbeat. And that was the same thing, but opposite. When I thought I had the miscarriage, she said those same words, but she said, there's a heartbeat. And so
Wow.
that
What an
was
emotional roller coaster.
oh my gosh, yeah.
Wow.
So at that point, I was very pro trying to do natural. I have no judgments on anyone who wants an epidural. I just wanted to try not to. My mother had done natural, my family, my sister-in-law, my sister, like I knew that it was possible, and I wanted to try. So that's why I did 3 home births, and then with complications, I had to go in for the next one. But for this one, I said to my husband, I'm getting an epidural. It's painful enough that I have to deliver a dead baby right now. They're like, you have to get this baby out. I'm like, I don't want to feel any more pain physically. And so, of course, one thing led to the next, and my husband, being that he was at my other births because they were home births and we did the Bradley method, he recognized when I was in transition, and before the doctor even came, he's like, I think she's in transition. She's shaking, and so you mind if I check you? And at that point, they're like, actually, it will feel better if you push on the next one, and she came right out. And that was another huge chesed, was that I didn't have any pain because she had already started decomposing. I didn't have any recovery issue. Like it was like nothing. They're like, "Do you need ice?" And I'm like, "No, but if you want to give it to me, you can." But like, no, I have no pain. Like, Baruch Hashem, if I have to go through the
Right.
pain of losing a child, at least I don't have to, like, the
Right.
physical, the whole thing that goes with giving birth.
Right. Right. Wow. And then you named her Muna.
So we had a different name picked, and it just didn't fit. And I thought we had to name, and then when we found out that we didn't have to, I'm like, yeah, but I still need something. I need to like learn and
Mhm.
grow from this. And
Yes.
so I wanted to give it a name to, like, you know,
It's your child.
a reminder, and it's my child, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We
So,
encourage our families to have that choice, whether to name the babies or not. And I think today most families will choose, even if it's an earlier loss, to give the baby the name because it's your child. It's part of your family story. And especially with if you have other children or in the future have other children, you want to have that baby have a name. My son, his name is Pesach, and that definitely I think has helped to put him into our lives for 38 years. So and it's a beautiful name, Amuna.
yeah.
Is there a reason you chose that?
Yeah, I mean, my husband was just threw that one out there as an idea, and I'm like, that's it, because
Which
you said,
means faith for anybody that doesn't.
oh,
Amuna needs faith.
lahagir babokar chastacha, in the morning or in happy times, we give God's praise, and ve'emunascha balelos. But at dark times, we have to really have faith. And I felt like emuna was what I needed to work on right now. This was a very hard time, and I needed to work on keeping my faith in God through that. So
And you spend time with her. And
I did. I said, as soon as she came out, I was like, I still want to hold her. And they're like, don't worry, we'll let you have as long as you can. Apparently, some people bring their baby home before they say goodbye. That was a little too much, but
it depends. It depends what
for me,
state you live. It
okay,
depends. Different states have different
okay,
laws. But
yeah,
well, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for the loss of your beautiful daughter. And it seems though that she is a part of your family and your family story. Um, so I want to continue with how music, which is your passion, your part of your life, how you started to say, but if you could repeat again, um, after you came home, and I know we connected through Nechama Comfort. Can you share when your daughter was born?
yeah. So
How
at
long ago?
some point during those first 2 weeks, I was looking online for a song
And this
that
was I'm sorry, this was 2 years ago, right? Just
this
you
happened two
should,
years ago.
2 years
Yes.
ago, yes, yes. It was recently, right? Her yard site was recently,
Yeah. Yes.
yes.
It was 9 months.
So, all right, continue. You came home and were looking for music.
Yeah. Well, she was actually due on February 19th, but I delivered her on January 19th.
Hmm.
It was like exactly a month early, but I think she passed away a few days before. As I said, there were signs of like a
Right.
little bit of her eyelid or her arm, or her lips were dark. Like very, my daughter, don't ask me how she saw a picture. My husband would visit the cemetery once a month, and he gave the kids an option if they want to come. And he liked to scroll through, and I'm like, you showed them those pictures. There was a picture of her with dark lips, and they're like, why is she wearing lipstick? Um,
Right. I just want you to share how old are your children?
I have a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old daughter, both daughters, and then I have a 6-year-old son, and I have a 3-year-old son. And I bravely got pregnant again, thank God, and I have a 9-month-old now.
Beautiful, beautiful. So just, to share with our audience, you, your husband goes to the cemetery and brings your children with him sometimes,
Yeah, for the first year he went monthly,
monthly. Hmm.
We actually got snowed in, and we he wanted to go um, on her yard site this year, but it didn't work out. But we're yeah, that leads kind of into the next thing. But we do plan to go at least, just because we want to feel that connection. And um, part of a huge comfort for me is the Tchias Mesim aspect, that every neshama, every heartbeat is a neshama. Doesn't matter how young. And there's a book that Rabbi Marwick, our Rav from Shomer Emunah, told us to get. And there's a lot of beautiful sources in there that are so comforting for anyone who. I'm blanking out at the name of the book.
So I just wanted to explain to our audience, because we have a variety of people that will listen to this and listen to this. So the concept for many of us in Judaism is when Mashiach comes, when the Messiah comes, there will be a Techiyat HaMetim, the resurrection of the dead, um, loosely translated. And we really don't know what that means, because it hasn't happened yet. But there are many, many resources for people to read, to understand, um, in many variations of what this means. And I think one of the things that we work with our clients, with our families, is how to find um, your understanding of that. That will bring you
Thank you so
comfort.
much,
And Chemdi is just sharing a resource and what brings you comfort, thinking about seeing and being reunited with Amuna
Yeah,
in the future.
and really, really on both levels, like the that soul belongs to our family, and whether it's this world or the next world, there will be that union once again. We will, that was comforting to me, and
Beautiful.
I have that aspect in my song because for me it was easier to accept a temporary loss rather than a permanent loss. My husband doesn't like know what it means, so it's like he like thought maybe you shouldn't put that in the song. And I'm like, no, this is it has to be honest and it has to be mine. I'm not doing it for anyone else. So if other people don't relate to it, that's totally fine. It's just what
Which
comforted
means
me.
that, which brings, do you go to the cemetery too, or just your husband? You would said
Yeah,
my
we
husband,
go sometimes we go together,
right?
and yeah.
Because you were, so that that hits upon a very important part too, that we always stress, that what makes this loss unique is that it's happening to two people, both partners, spouses in the relationship, both parents. But each of you are each partner is an individual, and how they deal with it, how they accept it. A lot of factors. How you grew up. Did you grow up around grief and loss? Is there something new? And that's okay. But the most important thing, which I see that you and your husband have, is communication and respect for each other. And everybody is on their own journey.
Yes.
So that's such an important point. So tell us, you were looking for music and songs to heal
Yes.
you, to
So
help you with it.
I was looking for something specifically from a mother about having a stillborn because that's what I needed. And I couldn't find anything. That I found something that was close, but it was someone writing about someone else's loss, and it didn't capture what I was feeling. And
And
so
you were
to
looking in Jewish music and secular music.
yeah, I mean, I just Googled it, whatever
Right.
came up.
Good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I said earlier that I was going to come back to something, and I'll just really quickly say I had a broken engagement before I met my husband, about 2 years before, and um, I guess that wasn't even like I wasn't looking for music then, but I came across a song called "I Will Love Again," and that just brought me to tears. And then I found another song, "Exit." I was like, oh, I should look for songs about this because at the time, I mean, maybe Jewish music has it now, and I just don't know about it. But at the time, I couldn't find anything that would like therapeutically help me to get out that feeling and to like allow myself to want to love someone again. Um,
There's a lot of songs written about heartbreak and love since the
yeah.
beginning of music.
In
I
Jewish
agree.
music?
In Jewish music, I'm not sure. That's a good.
Okay.
We gotta look into that. But definitely in secular music, that's the story. You know, from the beginning of time for music, that's what love stories are about and breakups.
Yeah.
I too would look for music. Also, I think I told you that I remember. I mean, when my son died 38 years ago, there was nothing. Um, but I would listen to other songs about breakups and things and sort of try to relate to it. And then, you know, over the years, there's been Eric Clapton, unfortunately, a secular singer, wrote a song about losing his child a few years ago. And when John Legend, the singer, came out a couple of years ago about his loss, very public. And all these things help to break the stigma. But there really hasn't been uh, books written, movies written, songs, anything really showing about pregnancy and infant loss. The last few years, I could definitely say there's much more, but somebody like you and your song is definitely needed. So if you could take us through a little bit, you were looking for songs, and there really weren't any, and this was after the loss about 2 years ago. So what made you think um, to write a song, or did the song come to you? What came first? I'm always I tell you, I can't sing, so I'm always in awe of writers and songs and people that create music. So which came first? How did this song come to be? And what's the title of the song? Is there a title yet?
Yeah, the title is This Time He Said No.
This time you said no.
Glory
Wow,
to God.
powerful. So if you could tell us a little bit about how the song came.
Yeah. So I said earlier that I used to like journaling, and so when I first came home from the hospital, my husband came in first, and I snuck upstairs, and I just took out a journal and I started writing. So that's kind of what happened 2 weeks after. I just went to write, and it was like accidentally coming out poetically. And that's, and then I'm like, is this a song? But I didn't really believe in that myself in that way at that time. I was just kind of like, I don't know, and I just left it. Um, and then I thought, well, maybe it is a song, and I just sort of meditated on the words, and the tune just kind of came into my head, and then I just recorded it so I wouldn't forget it. And then I
It just
went
doesn't come. It's a talent, definitely, but that's beautiful. And how
like
long ago? How long after Amuna passed away did this happen?
it was about 2 weeks when I started
Wow.
writing the song, and then it was very raw. And then I think it was definitely. I mean, I remember 6 weeks after my husband and I went to Florida, and it was pretty. I think it was for sure done by that point, like all the tune and everything. So
And what did you do with that song at that point?
I was gonna record it in the summer. I think I started recording it. Um, you know, it costs a lot of money to record a song, so it was kind of like a slow process that I just kept working on. So I would get in there. You gotta get the right person. You gotta get the right music. You gotta get the right feel. It's a whole.
And so, what advice do you give? I mean, you have a talent, and I promise you, in the next couple moments, you'll hear a snippet of the song. Um, but you have this talent. What advice would you give to a couple, to an individual going through pregnancy and infant loss, or has gone through it in the past? In terms of finding an outlet, journaling is big, and when we mention that too to our families, when we give them a comfort care package, we tell them, we give them a journal, and we say, you know, some people like to write, some people don't like to write, some people, you know, nowadays we have tech, so just record it, your feelings, your emotions. We've had families, couples, individuals that have expressed themselves in artwork. beautiful artwork that they've shared. And then there's people, exercise, whatever you need to do. Um, how much do you think that helps having an outlet? What does that mean? What did the singing music help you on your journey?
Yeah. Um, so I think because I had that, it really released so much. And there's really no right and wrong. If it's honest, then it's perfect. And I think a person themselves knows when something's working. You know, it feels like you're releasing this like heavy weight. You can feel lighter afterward. Um, and I'm sure there are people who would want to hear anything, whether it's just someone talking about their story. I mean, there are so many ways to express grief. Um, so
And
I'm just,
it's
yeah,
never too late, and if you work with us and or yourselves or anybody to find that outlet. And self-care has become a buzzword since COVID, but we were using it way before, and it really is important to find something. And it may not work, you may find something else. It may be something you do as a couple, individuals. It could be a few things, but it's really important, I think, for everybody to help with their grief journey, to have
yeah,
this other place to go to and to share how you feel.
yeah. It's
So,
nice to have something tangible to capture for that child's memory. Like you have something physical.
yes, yes, that's another thing that we've talked to, having something concrete. Some of us, depending on our stories, have a place to visit at the cemetery, and some of us don't. But how do we create something tangible, a candle, lighting a Shabbat candle, or creating a song? And there's so much in between that too, um, for their memories, which is so important. So, let's just talk about the song for the last couple of minutes that we have. So Chemdi, I hadn't heard from her for a while, and she reached out to me a little not so long ago to tell me she had written this song. She shared the song, first the words and the tune, and I was blown away. And um, we had a discussion. How can Nechama comfort? uh, Chemdi was she brought it to me, and we discussed it. And right away when I heard it, I said, "This can be so helpful. How can we share this song to help people?" Um, and it's still in progress a little bit. Our first step is I wanted all of you to meet Chemdi and to hear about the song. Um, and it's really tell us one sentence. What would you describe? What is the song about?
It is my experience of you know, just capturing my pain, how I felt, kind of taking through. It's really like my grief, but it's also realizing that for me it was comforting to realize that it came from God, um, and that there is hope because we're praying for Mashiach to come, the Messiah to come, and bring this exile to an end. And at that point, there is one of the 13 principles of faith is that we believe that there is going to be resurrection of the dead. And I just it really was so comforting to me to visualize her alive and coming back to our family. And I wanted to capture that in a song and have this like hopeful, cling on to something that was positive rather than just the heaviness of what just happened to our family.
Beautiful. And I think that I appreciate you reaching out to me in the hopes that this song will help people, not necessarily exactly maybe align with what you're thinking. Many people will, but to help others be, find their belief and find their hope. You know, we always say this is your child that lives in your hopes and dreams. So it's helping them to find their hopes for this child, putting it into their families, and you've given them an amazing way to think about this and a beautiful song. And what we discussed is, Chemdi, maybe you would like to share what we want to do
Yeah.
with the
Um,
song.
so, if I could say one sentence about a previous song that I reworded, I did something for ORA, which is an organization that helps women who are in a chained marriage, who are their husbands are refusing to give them a get. Um, I changed up Mordechai Shapiro's "Up All Night," and they used that with a music video along with it for a campaign, a fundraising campaign. I reached out to them, sent them the song, and they wanted to use it, and they actually funded the music video, and um, they told me after the fact that they never raised so much money before, and I thought, look, I have this song that I really did for myself, but if someone else can find comfort in it, I would want to share it. But I wanted to take it a step further and find an organization that would like to use it for a campaign and have really just bring an awareness to other people who might not quite understand the pain that a family goes through, specifically the mother, and have them just realize the intense pain and give money to an organization like Nechama Comfort, and that helps women, that are there for them, that listen to them. That, I mean, that's so. I mean, women in general need to be heard, but specifically when they're going through something like this, grieving over the loss of their baby, which they carried for sometimes any amount of time, is so painful. But Nechama Comfort is there for them throughout, and like you say, it's never too late. There could be someone who's a grandmother who, I think you told me, right? Someone who's older who was still talking about it. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, it's never. And just to add, over the years, um, we recognize the grief that women are going through and men, and we work with the entire family. And each one is a unique loss and journey, physically compared. The mother carries the baby, like you said, but we're working really with the entire family. Your children, we've talked about your children, how they have their sister in their lives. So we're really here to work on the entire family. So the idea is, we wanted to come on. We want you to meet Chemdi. We're going to be sharing this Zoom. You'll be getting a link for it, and please share with other people. And we would love to, Chemdi would love to produce the song. We would love to be able to share the song in our programming, both to offer help and of course, all of our services to our families are free of charge. So we hope to be, running a future campaign,
I'm sorry.
fundraising campaign, and to raise money to help our organization continue to help people. And we're going to have information up on our website, and hopefully also with the link to you can watch this video again, and we're going to hear a little bit of the song in a minute. And if you would like to donate money to help us create this place for this song to live and to be shared with so many clients, we'll have a link up for that as well. So Chemdi, can you share with us a little bit of the song?
Yes.
People have been waiting.
Okay. So I'm not gonna sing the whole thing. I'm just gonna sing the beginning, the verse, the pre-chorus, and the chorus, and then I'm going to turn it off. Just a little sneak peek.
The world premiere.
Yeah, and I'm not warmed up, so forgive me. But let me just take a drink. I'm trying to connect it to my Bluetooth. Just 1 second. The song starts with a verse from Eov. As I make sure my Bluetooth is connected, I'm gonna just tell you the beginning of the song says, Hashem nasan, Hashem lakach. Hashem, God, has taken, God gave, and God took back, essentially. The rest of that verse is Hashem birach. It's like Hashem, like, and then you want to bless Hashem, like, with everything, and I wasn't feeling that, so I didn't put the whole pasuk in. I just put the first part because that's what I was feeling at the time. So there's always room for happy songs when I'm feeling them. That wasn't the mood. Just having a hard time connecting this. Sorry. Alright, here we go. Everything was all connected before.
Anybody has any questions that they want to share or comments, you can put it in the chat, and after the song, we'll open it up to anybody.
I should also say I sing in front of women only, so if possible, any male could maybe lower the volume for this part, I would really appreciate it. Okay, here we go. And I just want to thank everyone again for hearing my story and for coming on. It's not working. We'll just use my phone. Never saw you smile. You never took a breath. I loved you all the while, but you've been laid to rest. I held you for some time. It wasn't long enough. Just know you'll always be mine, for you're a part of us. You were sent from heaven to grow inside of me. Never meant to live in this world's impurities. And one day with redemption, you'll come back home with me, for you'll be resurrected, our family complete. Just let go and let God run the show. I now know that I'm not in control. Be grateful for all the good that's yours. He gave her, but this time he said no. This time he said no.
Wow, I'm speechless.
And there's more.
Wow, wow. There's a lot more. It's beautiful. And we look forward to sharing it at some point. If anybody wants to say anything or share anything.
I want to say one thing, if possible.
Of course.
Reva, I mean. My husband just set up, so getting pregnant again after this was very frightening. And I actually ended up writing. I took off a year, literally, and I ended up writing songs about every feeling as it came, like feeling guilty about what happened. Um, your mission is mine, trying to accept God's will for whatever would happen with this next one, stuff like that. And I want my husband set up buymeacoffee.com if anyone wants to, support an album for this kind of thing, which I would obviously love to share with Nechama Comfort or anything like that. If anyone wants to, I can put the link up. That's all.
You want to share it in the chat?
Okay.
Okay. Terrific. Wow. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. You can put the link in the chat, and or I love that. Buy me a coffee. Love it.
$1.
And, but
It's like $1. I
yes,
mean,
love
eat how
it.
much you want, but it's, yeah.
Love it. Love it. And we would, anybody have any questions, comments? Now's the time. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook on Nechama Comfort. For anybody that's new tonight, we will have the information up over the next couple days. We will have the link of this Zoom to share, to watch again. And if you would like to help Chemdi, to help Nechama Comfort, we would really appreciate. People are saying they were they were inspired, so proud. Me too. I've spoken to Chemdi a lot over the last few weeks, and I just learned so much. And I really thank you for sharing your journey. It's not easy, but I know that you're going to be helping so many people.
Thank you.
Thank you, and everybody have a good evening. Good night.
I'm sorry, I realized this took way longer, and I apologize.
No, I am going to